Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. And of course, it seems like every day it's open, it is green. So we're enjoying watching the portfolios. There is something that needs to start happening very quickly. And I'll show you what that is. But of course, dip buyers are coming in full force. One reason for this is I'll show you what is happening on the futures overnight. And it's starting to become a pattern. At least that's what's helped, this melt up continue. And also we had some, a couple of big stocks had some big breakouts today. And I'll show you which one of those are. But, understand right now, so far, we're kind of following this pattern, right? This is the election year seasonal pattern right now. We get the dip in July, August usually up, then sideways, maybe at the end or whatever. And then we either go sideways or down September, October-ish, and then we rally after the election, usually in November, December-ish, even though it's so weird. I don't know which one we're in. If it's open field because we don't have an incumbent. Is the VP considered an incumbent? That's a little rougher path. All of the presidential elections look like the one in the middle. Either way, so far we're on that path right now. But when you look right here, what happened today was one of the most hawkish Fed presidents actually came out and said that, yeah, we need to open the door for rate cuts in September because of the jobs market. I understand this man was calling for rate hikes. I believe it was in May. So it wasn't that very long ago. So when he said that, everybody's like, oh, wow, if he's on board with it, you can guarantee other people are going to get on board with it, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, what's happening here, is a couple of things. One, you can tell there's a straight melt up because in the last 2 or 3 days, the market, or actually more than that, the market isn't respecting any fib levels, right? I mean, on the S&P, you can see it did respect it when it first started moving up, and then right here, it just blew through all of them, right? Just no respect for them whatsoever. Unlike on the move down, you can clearly see so many times that all those arrows where it's just either rejecting or bouncing as support off the fib as it moves down. I know some people don't believe in fib levels, but trust me, they're a real thing for a reason, okay? And then when you look on the big move up, where we went, I mean, this is a huge move up. And you can see so many times, you see all those arrows? That's where we were rejecting from it, coming back down to support on it, bouncing, all this good stuff. And so you don't see any of that going on over the last week, basically, on this melt up. And so that's why it's a melt up. It's just moving and moving, and you keep hearing everybody talking about the volume and stuff like that. That's just why I don't really look at volume, because you see stuff like this happen. But when you look at NQ, the one thing you're seeing in here is the drawdowns are happening while we're sleeping. Okay, that was one to drawdown there. And usually it's between 11 p.m., 4 or 5 in the morning, somewhere in there. And you can see there's another one. And so they're basically coming down for liquidity in the middle of the night, and then when the market opens back up, because the liquidity grabs pretty much already been done, that's when they'll start to move up, and you'll get liquidity grabs during the daytime, but nothing crazy, right? You see, in every one I'm showing you here is this move down. This is the one Sunday night, right? So they sell us off at 11 p.m. it starts, and again goes to right around 4 or 5 a.m. right there, and then from there we end up popping up, take a liquidity grab down, and go, right? So that's kind of what's been going on, going back, probably 5, 6 days now is what they've been doing. And a lot of times in the middle of the night, usually it's kind of just trading in a consolidated range. But this last week, we've been getting these pullbacks when the European market comes online. And so that's one reason you're not seeing some crazy moves down like we normally were seeing before this melt up started to happen. And when you look at NQ, I mean, you see there's tons of liquidity that's been left behind. Obviously, I said if we break this level up here at the top, that it was going to do what? Take that liquidity over here to the left, right? And that's what it started to do. And what's interesting though is how this right here actually lines up with this move on QQQ, where it filled this gap today, right, to the penny. And so now we have filled another gap. And so the question is, are we going to break above that, start moving higher tomorrow? I'm not even going to try to predict this, because at this point in time, we should have gotten some kind of drawdown. And look at this right here. Look at this, the last 10 minutes of the day. Look at that move. Isn't that amazing? Just pushed it right on through. We hadn't moved up enough and put it over 1%. I think it was 1.3% or something for the day on the Qs. And I'll show you why that was happening real quick with some of these other stocks. But you can see on the SPY here, another one comes up to this level right here, and what are we sitting at? We're waiting to fill this gap, and that is all-time highs, folks. Less than 1% away. Put in the comments if you thought we'd be less than 1% away this fast after that drawdown. And what's it doing? It's just grinding the top of this channel, right? Just keeps grinding up against it. I don't know how many green days with maybe one red day there that it is. But again, what are you not seeing? You're not seeing any kind of structure, right? Which we're going to talk about in a few other things. But you're not seeing any kind of structure at all. It's just melting up like crazy, right? There's nothing coming down, testing this level, testing that level, is like, nope, it's gone. And what's the reason here? Look at Nvidia. Breaks this trend line. We drew it down right here this morning. Finally broke above. I didn't think we'd be above that trend line by today. There you go, right? And so now it's above that trend line, breaking out. That was supposed to be the third touch. Instead, just went right through it. And again, it came down, retested, bounced off of it and stuff like that. So we're going to get to see how far they can push this up, because remember, it's all about earnings for Nvidia. I believe it's the 28th of this month, if I'm not mistaken. But look at all those green days. Again, you see no structure whatsoever in this. Normally you're moving up, you get a couple red days down and test a level. This thing is just shot right through all of those grayed out boxes and those levels that could have been resistance and stuff that were holding up as resistance and support, just gone. I showed you in yesterday's video, for those who actually watched, appreciate you watching. This is one of the 3 stocks that have been the most bullish in options flow, right? But it looks kind of like something like this, right? Where you're getting no pullback at all, just day after day after day. Finally, you got a little bit there and it just kept going, right? And you're like, okay. But the big thing about this is, I love watching it, because obviously I bought, definitely in the 80s and 90s, but it's like, and I love seeing it. But we also know usually when this happens, and it runs up to earnings, if it keeps running to earnings like this, you better hang the freaking moon, because if you don't, see you later. And that's just the way it is. That's reality. And so hopefully, we'll start building on some kind of structure over the next week, but I don't know, because then you got Jackson Hole, stuff like that. Really no news to derail it right now, unless jobless claims comes out is absolute disaster, and the recession fear starts getting stoked again or whatever. Then you go over to Tesla, and this is another one, right? Breaking that ascending trend line we had talked about. And then came back down, fell right below it, came back up, retested, and went, obviously. So now it's above that big ascending trend line. So it can continue to move. And we talked about how there's liquidity above it in that fair value gap, and that's what you saw. As soon as it hit it, pull back down. It's what you want to see, reactions, right? It's respecting it. If it shoots right through it tomorrow, definitely going higher from there, because it respected 0 on that fair value gap, which is a daily fair value gap, actually. You can see it right there. I got it shaded out. But, once it makes it through there, then obviously the level right above that, where that white line's at around 235.20, is going to be the next target if it holds this ascending trend line and makes it through that. Okay, but then again, these are 2 larger stocks, right, doing these breakouts. Here's Google. I guess they started writing some checks to the government officials, right, because they were going to break them up, and it fell down, and of course that thing completely recovered now and then some. And that trend line right there, which is part of that ascending triangle we had talked about, breakout, that's now resistance at this point in time. So we'll see this continue to go up. You got the 150 right above it. You got that other ascending trend line right there above it as well. We'll take the 200 off right here. But again, all the fear thing, oh, they're going to break them up. And they just got to start writing checks. That's all they got to do, is start bribing our officials. And so we'll see if they wrote big enough checks. But you can see that 21 EMA on the daily. That's where it landed today. That's where it stopped this rally. I was kind of surprised. It was outdoing Amazon and a lot of others, Microsoft, Apple. It really was coming back hard. So I assume somebody got some news there. And when you're looking at Google, as long as you don't break this line right here, it's like 150, 183, I believe it is, 152-ish. That goes back to 2022 right there. You can see it's been resistance, and broke above, retest. So now it's support. You're good to go, right? That's what you're looking for. So if you break that line, you can guarantee it's going to fill that gap between 143 and 145 if it breaks that, okay? And then there's PayPal, and we're getting right back up in this shade area. We've been here multiple times to reject. Thought we had a breakout right here. We didn't. And so it's back here again. If it can get through it, obviously if it gets over 70, 68, then you're going to fill that whole gap for sure, which we're going to close in around like 72.30, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, which will be about 4 to 5% higher from here. And, again, with this one, it's so funny because, we thought this was going to happen so many different times, but this is another one with rate cuts. And you look at the chart on the long and you go, oh, my goodness. This thing is a mess, all right? But when you look at it, it's so damaged with these charts right here that you can see where all the resistance was, right? It was right down there. And if you can just keep moving up and get above, really, because you're in this gap right there, if you get above 79, oh man, then this thing can absolutely go. Because remember, see how it went up and see how it crashed down? And so you look at that. So if it can get it, yes, that's the bigger question. But you also see, where right now we're in this volume gap to move up, but you can see where the resistance is, right? So around like 72 to 74 right there is where you should see a slowdown if this momentum continues. But looking at some momentum indicators and stuff, and we'll go from short-term time frame to long-term time frame. Look at stochastic. We'll look at the RSI, And I mean, you can clearly see the bulls are in charge on, I don't care what it is, whether it's daily, weekly, doesn't really matter. We'll take the VRVP off the volume profile there. But you can see we're above 50 on the RSI. We're setting the stochastics where you want it to be right there. So that's a good thing. There's a push up here. You go to the weekly, same thing. Above 50 on the RSI, stochastic looks good even on a weekly time frame. I think you can even probably go all the way up to the monthly if you wanted to. And so, but again, on these higher time frames, you're still seeing momentum come in there and stuff. I mean, on the 2 week, for crying out loud, I believe we're same thing. And so there's the monthly. So, but understand this is not about PayPal. Okay, this is about all fintech. PayPal is actually one of the laggers in all the fintech, right? I mean, these other ones are performing even better than that is. Even SoFi is performing better than PayPal right now, all right? Because it's all about, we're going to get rate cuts, because rate cuts would definitely help a lot of these, right? Because more people would come back, start refinancing student loans, start taking out more loans, all kinds of stuff. And so that will be big, okay? And if you have any kind of business accounts, it would help out as well. So it's not just about PayPal. It's about fintech as a whole. Remember, these move as a group, okay? Unless there's some individual news, right? These have moved as a group. I've showed you many times. You look at SoFi. Again, bulls are in charge now. That's the daily right there, the weekly. Again, it's sitting there above the 50. So, they're still getting in charge. It's a slow mover. And I think if the rate cut comes, you got to think fintech would be the one that would, be one of the ones that benefit the most, right? I mean, I think that's why you see banks kind of moving and everything. And they've led a few different days. Fintech's either been the leader one day, and then XLF's the leader one day. And so I think there's a reason for that. And again, you can see where the resistance is, right? And there's trying to get above and stay above that. So like $77.48. But if you can get above it, that little shaded area right there, between 850, like that's your first target, okay? And then again, the stock's been destroyed pretty much. So, I mean, you get above that, it's just nothing but gravy on top of the potatoes, right? And so, again, watch fintech, especially going into September here if we get that rate cut. Now, looking at AMD real quick on this one, you can see this right here is going to start to come in some major resistance after a huge day. It's coming up into the 50, coming up into 200, the 100 moving average. You can see on the volume profile. Again, plenty of resistance coming up between 155, 160 area right there. So we'll see if it's going to continue this move up. It's been a big, big, big move for AMD. I don't know if it's just really moving off Nvidia as a sympathy play or what. I haven't really seen any. I mean, they did that purchase, I think I put in the morning news brief today, which is why they had a big day of some AI company. And so again, they're trying to build out and really compete with Nvidia and stuff. So, we'll see if this is going to continue. If it does get above that, I mean, right there is going to be the liquidity area right there. Again, so now you got the volume profile, you're moving averages, and liquidity to be had, which you should get a reaction off of that. And when you look at IWM here real quick, you can see, nice big day for it. Filled this gap to the penny. Again, staying above the 2024 high. One thing that's different about this time than last time was the fact that when you look on other areas here, you can see it actually came down and retested, right? Last time, if we scroll over, we didn't get the retest. It gapped above, and it gapped and just kept going, right? We never got a retest, and then, of course, ended up getting crushed over here. And so, again, this one's moving up. And so whether it's the rate hikes, whether it's just a melt up in the entire market, which is what is happening, now we got that gap filled. We'll see if it's going to continue, because above that, obviously right there, that's liquidity, right? We should start to see a slowdown in the reaction of what's happening. That's what should happen, unless there's some crazy news comes out and it just shoves it right on through it. But, we're like this on a lot of different stocks, a lot of different ETFs and stuff, where they're just getting up to these levels where you would think there would be a pullback. But this is another one, right? Like no structure. The last like 5 or 6 days is just straight up almost, really. And so what you want is you want to see, again, these reactions of these fair value gaps. That's normal. Okay, when it plows right through them, that's usually not normal. Okay, and normally it'll come down and revisit that, like you see right there. That was a hot mess. But again, I'm just one of those people, I like to see actual structure, higher lows, higher highs. This right here is just like whoosh. Basically a reversed waterfall, right? It's melting up on you. And so again, we'll have to see how long this kind of momentum can actually continue, and maybe they're just going to push us up in the Jackson Hole. I mean, maybe that is the plan, but you got to think to yourself, if they sit there and start signaling rate cuts in September and really going, oh yeah, we're really open to it, that the market is, why would the market just sell off at that point in time? That's really what you got to be asking yourself. So, again, how do I see something like this? That would be nice. Again, testing these different levels and stuff to move up. That's, tends to last longer than these crazy moves up. But, that's just me. I'm old-fashioned that way. And when we get to earnings, we'll finally get to hear some more retailers tomorrow, and Lowe's. We'll see. You got to think they're going to come out and say the same thing Home Depot did, right? and then you got Xpeng, and then you'll have Toll Brothers, the house builder. Be interested to see what they got to say, and if they talk about rates at all and prices. And then no kind of news to worry about tomorrow. So again, it's a very light news week. Unemployment claims don't come out until Thursday, and then of course you'll have FOMC minutes on Wednesday. But tomorrow, really nothing going on besides a couple Fed speakers, some really short-term bond auctions. So, anyway, I hope you guys got some out of it. Please hit the like, subscribe button if you did. Feel free to put your predictions down the bottom, what you think is going to happen tomorrow. And sign up for membership if you want. Less than a McDonald's combo, and you get a whole bunch of stuff with it. It's listed right there. So, anyway, have a good one, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.